What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another special edition of Second Guessan with Stressan. I am very pleased to announce that I have yet again the voice of the Texans, Marc Vandermeer, who's been willing to answer some questions. Marc, welcome.
Don't mess with a winning streak. That's what I say. So I guess I had to come back, Garrett. That's the way it is, right? That's what Costner said in Bull Durham. Don't mess with a winning streak. So let's do it.
I love it. I'm here for it, and hopefully we keep it going and we go all the way to the Super Bowl. So I guess I'll just kind of start off asking some questions until we get some questions from the chat. First, take from the game last week. How was your feelings about that, and did it go how you expected it to go?
Heck no. I mean, come on. Who could expect that? Are you kidding? Now, some people expected a lopsided victory. Is that what you expected? Like a lopsided win?
Not lopsided.
Okay.
I mean, now, I saw that if we got a lead, we could, it could get ugly. So,
well, I think a couple of things stood out. Obviously, the defense just locking down. I mean, giving up that opening field goal, so what? You give up a field goal, and then you get sudden change. You give up another field goal. So instead of 14-0 or 10-0, it's 6-0, and it stood that way as we all saw for a while. I think that to me, it wasn't a huge surprise. The defense played really well. I think that it was, a mild, pleasant surprise, if you will, in that the Chargers came into the game with a lot of juice, as we all know. I mean, Justin Herbert, they had 4 wins in a row. They're supposed to come in here and score points, or at least enough, get up to 21, 24, something like that. I felt like they could hold them under 20. But the question was, are the Texans going to be able to put up points against the number one scoring defense in the league? And as we all saw, the offense got off to a sluggish start. And, turnover first play of the game, my gosh, it could not start worse. It felt like Jacoby Jones in Baltimore in 2011 or something. Like, let's not start a playoff game like this, right? At certain times in Texans history, we've seen games start off in the worst possible way. 2018 opener, New England, fumble snap, first play of the game. Really, first play of the game. So anyway, the play that CJ made when the snap goes through him and then he's able to get the ball downfield to X is one of the great plays we've ever seen in this franchise, right? It's Watt pick 6. It's up there with anything because of what it meant. It turned the whole thing around. All of a sudden, the cobwebs blew out of CJ's brain or whatever was going on, and he was able to just be CJ, just play ball. Somebody worded it to me this way. As that ball sails through his hands, now he's just playing ball, right? He's just, okay, what do I got? Let's run. Let's throw. Guy caught it. Let's keep going. And then it got surgically precise after that. He hits Nico. He hits Schultz first. Nico again. Bang, touchdown. That touchdown was no small thing because there you are on 3rd and long. It's 3rd and 11, right? And, we've seen them get into the red zone before and not be able to convert. And if you get the field goal right there, all right, great. It's 6-3. But to get the lead right there was magical. And we all saw what transpired after that. So, yeah, long answer to your short question. I was just elated to see the turnaround, the offense start to click. That 7-minute drive in the fourth quarter with runs, just bludgeoning them, keeping the ball away from them. You're not gonna threaten us today because we got the ball and you can't do anything about it. And we're gonna score. So now we're gonna put it completely out of reach for you. That was magical again, and it gives us more than hope for this week. I mean, it gives a lot of people optimism for this week. Last week, we were just hoping to get through the Chargers somehow, some way. Well, now you feel like, okay, we got something going on here with this defense. Is the running game back? Now you're playing the Chiefs, 2-time defending Super Bowl champs. Obviously a different situation, but yeah, I'm pumped up.
Well, I guess I'll ask you. You mentioned that late drive, that 6-8 minute drive, the clock killing drive. That was very impressive. But we also
Mhm.
had that 99-yard drive. I mean, that's got to be up there as one of the better drives in Texans history. Would you rank that in the top five potentially?
Well, yeah, the plays we just described, that is those plays were part of that drive. You know, the CJ hit to X, part of that drive. So yeah, the 99-yard drive. You know, and I literally said it in the game. And sometimes I say this when you have the ball at your one, it's first and 99. You know, and doing what I do, it's one of those situations where you never know what play is going to be potentially one of the great plays you've ever seen. And somebody was asking me about when Pierce went 92 yards. We were talking about the Lamar Miller run, and I think I've talked about that with you, where it's like that could have been a 1 yard run, but Lamar Miller in 2018 Monday Night Football goes 97 yards. It's like the longest run in franchise history. I knew that the moment it happened because it's 97. I know that we never had anything like that. So with the CJ play, that could have just been he's sacked, he throws the ball away, but nope, here we go. One of the great plays in the history of the franchise. And that's football. Any snap could do that. Extra point for the Chargers after they get that unbelievable touchdown to McConkey. And then, hey, not that it's one of the great plays in the history of the franchise, but it's a wild, weird play. And I could have called it better as I looked at it, but I listened to Iron Eagle as well. It was a weird play because a lot of people kind of gave up on it. And then all of a sudden, Ross is running the other way and like, hey, 2 points, we'll take it. And it kind of takes a little bit of that momentum away that they were trying to seize back for themselves. So, yeah, very cool.
No, I thought you did a great job in that play. I mean, like you said, everyone in the stands kind of didn't know what was going on, but the content that you guys put out about D'Amico mic'd up and Frank Ross screaming down the sidelines. I mean, that stuff was just awesome. We do have a question from a listener. He said he's in San Antonio. Let me see if
Yeah.
I can find it. He said, "I live in San Antonio. What's the best way to listen to Mark when I watch a game?"
Okay, so 760 The Ticket usually has our games, but they're also owned by WOAI's company. So it's an iHeart radio station. We're going to be on WOAI on Saturday against the Chiefs. So that's 1200 a.m. That's a blowtorch. You can actually pick that up in multiple states once the sun goes down because radio stations are like that with their transmitters and certain AM stations just go forever, and that's one of them. So WOAI, I think I used to listen to WOAI in Michigan because I'm a radio freak, and this is in the old days, Garrett, like, trying to listen to radio stations because I enjoy that. I'm one of those people. But yeah, WOAI 1200 AM, Austin 1300 AM has it. So just cruise around the upper reaches of the AM dial, and you'll get the game.
Awesome. And then also, by the way, guys, I got a ticker down here below. If you want to follow Mark on any of his social media, I got his X and his Instagram there, as well as all of mine. So, we definitely appreciate everything Mark does, and he has some great calls. And speaking of great calls, last time we were together, I asked you the over/under of the total rock and rolls, and you said at least one. And you said if there's
We
going to
got
be
one.
two, and you said to have two, it would have to be something like 2 pick sixes. And you said, if there's 2 pick sixes, I'll say whatever you want. And I said, okay, if we do that, I want you to say we BLESSAN. And we were this close to that. Can you kind of go through that moment?
I was actually thinking about that when Stingley's running down. I'm thinking, am I going to have to do this? And I didn't know what I was going to do had he made it to the end zone, honestly, Garrett. But that was pretty cool, man. You see, I mean, it was incredibly cool. Eric Murray, he runs it in. And then the next possession for the Chargers, you got Sting, and it looks like he's going to make it. One block to get Dobbins out of the way, and he's in the end zone. And that was amazing. Just to have that happen in 2 straight years would have been incredible. And that is, again, I hate to overuse the word magic, but there's just something about this D'Amico era because as much of a struggle as it's been in the regular season at times this year, here you are, and look, we all wanted to play this game at home. I get it. But hey, we'll take it. Look how many teams this time of year, and we've been here the 6th time we've been in this round. It always amazes me because when I go out to practice, I'm thinking we're still here, and think of all the teams that are not. Teams that because I know what it's like to be done with your season after the regular season finale, and a week and a half later, it feels like a year later. Believe me, the Titans and the Colts, it feels like a long time ago that the season ended for them. But for us, we're still out there practicing, playing, all the support staff still here, the cafeteria's open, the players. I mean, you're going. And as crazy and wonderful as it is this week, I let my mind dream about what will next week be like. You make it through this round, because every time we get to this round, I think, okay, here's our chance to make history. I just got off the phone with Dan Pastorini before this conversation, and I wanted to talk to him about, and some of you more seasoned fans will know this, not just the 1979 victory in the divisional round where the Oilers beat the Chargers when they went to San Diego and everybody was hurt. Pastorini was hurt. Earl Campbell was hurt. Kenny Burrow was hurt. Everybody was hurt, and they got the win anyway because they got 4 picks out of Vernon Perry. But the year before, the first year they made it to the AFC Championship game, that was 46 years ago. They beat the New England Patriots, favored in that game, and the Oilers went up there and did it. And Earl had over 100, and Pastorini threw for 200, and it was just a great game. They got the win. They got 3 or 4 sacks out of Elvin Bethea and Robert Brazil, 2 Hall of Famers. And I'm thinking, we got guys on the edge who are pretty damn good here. We got some things going for us. Great defense, running game. See if you can produce that kind of thing and break through for this franchise for the very first time. And I wanted to get his thoughts on that. So it's so tantalizing when you get to this weekend and you think about that, but what you're up against here. You are up against a dynasty, and you've got to take them down. I see somebody wrote "Slay the Dragon" on the chat here. That's what you got to do. It's not quite David and Goliath, but it's David. Maybe David and his friends against Goliath. But let's see what they can do here.
Yeah, so that's a great way to segue into now let's just kind of focus on the Kansas City game. We got a couple questions. Gus Dixon asked, do you think the weather is going to support a big role in how we play Saturday?
No, I think they'll be okay. It's not exactly, 27 degrees here, but it's not warm. I've been out at practice. It's not warm. And I think they're trying to make it so, hey, get used to being uncomfortable, and it's going to be even more uncomfortable up there. I think personally, the fact that they were there a month ago really helps them, because that was not a warm day either. So they're used to the environment. Look, that's kind of divisional feel in that way, not the team you're playing, but in that way where it's like, okay, we know this, we know the locker room, we know the field, we know it's crazy, we know it's nuts. It's going to be even more nuts because it's the playoffs, but at least they've been there. It's not like a completely foreign environment. So I don't think it's going to be that much of a factor. The wind should lighten up as the day goes on. I always look at the wind. The wind is the big thing here, because the wind makes it difficult to throw the ball. When the Texans went to Green Bay and it was like 3 degrees or whatever it was in 2008, Schaub threw for over 400 yards in that game. He always talked about, hey, the thing was it wasn't windy, so I could throw the ball. So that is a big deal in these situations.
Yeah, and I guess another point too is obviously I think wind is probably the highest, but even being wet, I think CJ mentioned, when it's that cold rather than rain, you get snow, which is a bonus as well. So,
and it's not going to snow. I mean, it's not on the schedule anyway. Snow is not scheduled to appear. So as far as I saw yesterday, I haven't checked it this morning yet.
Well, that's good to hear. I
Very,
guess I'll just ask
very
you.
low chance of that. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I guess I'll just ask you. I mean, right off the bat, what's your confidence level going into this game?
Well, look, last time you were going to tie the game 17-all. You had Tank go out, and it changed everything, and you still only lost by 8. In fact, after that happened, you still got a 4th down stop and had the ball in their territory. My goodness. I'll take my chance. If you promise me that right now, you're down a point, third quarter at that point, I believe. You're down a point, third quarter, you got the ball at their 49-yard line. Would you take that opportunity? Absolutely. Sign me up for that again. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get that again. But I think the way they're playing, and I said this on the air last night, you see the movie Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe playing James Braddock. You should see this, Gary. Come on. Where's your boxing? People on the chat, come on. You've all seen Cinderella Man. If you haven't, you got to see this movie. It's a great boxing movie. It's a true story about James Braddock, who is an awesome fighter prior to and during the Great Depression. But anyway, he fights a guy who he fought years before, who beat him. And this time he's on his big comeback. The guy goes to the corner. The guy's trainer says, "You beat the hell out of this guy last time. What's the problem?" And the fighter said, "It's not the same guy. He's different now. The Texans are not the same team that went up there a month ago. They're different. It's not the same guy. This is a different team. They went through a transformation after getting blown out by the Ravens, and they had that great week against Tennessee. I don't discount or downplay the importance of what D'Amico did that week. Let's get back to playing football. Let's have some fun, playing some ball. They balled out. They beat the Titans. I don't care what the starters did. They did well. But, they beat the Titans. Everybody in it together. They were all celebrating. They had the thick six with Barnett. And guess what that did? The following week, they had a great week. They got ready for the Chargers. They dismantled the Chargers. And they're going up there a completely different bunch of guys than they were a month ago. I'm convinced of this. Now, they don't have all the weapons. They don't have Diggs. They don't have Tank. They don't have this. They don't have that. But what they do have is enough. Whether they get it done remains to be seen. I can't predict whether a ball doinks off the upright or it takes a bounce. And the CJ snap, if that ball bounces any which way but back to him, he might get buried right there. Maybe they don't beat the Chargers. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But that's football, and we'll all watch together to see what happens.
So I have heard of the movie Cinderella Man, but I have not seen it. I will definitely watch it. But you are correct.
Hey,
Mark, I'm so engulfed into Texans content. I got to take a break and
see it after the season.
But you make a great point. We are not the same team, and I will say that two big pieces on defense, Azeez Al-Shire, who was out, is a massive change, as well as Foley Fatukasi, who we talked about last week, is a very underrated piece and is critical in our run stopping. So I definitely agree with you there. And then I will even further go off of that. In that game, in my opinion, the Tank Dell and Jimmy Ward injuries, which the Jimmy Ward injury was kind of overlooked. Both of them were very significant, and it wasn't really going forward. It was just in the moment. Like, now we've had time to plan post those injuries. And so do you think that we're different in that regard? We've had time to adjust our game plans going forward?
Yeah, they know who they are now. They know what they have to deal with. They got Miles Bryant playing a lot of nickel. They'll deal with it somehow. And Bryant is a pretty decent cover guy, so you can get that out of him. What you might not get as much of is the, blasting into the backfield, making a play that way. And as I say that, watch him do it against Mahomes. They have to do something a little crazy for Mahomes, right? And I don't know exactly what they've got up their sleeve, but they got to find a way to get to him and hold up in coverage just long enough. How did they beat them in 2019 up there? 39 minutes time of possession. They ran the ball. Carlos Hyde looked good. They had the short passing game going. They killed the clock with a Watson to DeAndre Hopkins pass at the end. Just keep away from Mahomes. Like, that's what they did. Look, I'm not saying that's automatically the formula here, but maybe, just maybe, the Chiefs are a little off because they've been off for so long. But also, they've had time to have like a virtual training camp and get ready for this one in a different kind of way. So we'll see. You want to get to some of these questions here, because I don't want to let people.
Absolutely. My buddy TJ Roberts says, who steps up in place of Stover and Johnson? Where do you see those extra 5 to 6 targets going?
So does somebody need to step up for Deontay Johnson? You mean who's going to be really upset after the game that they didn't get the ball enough? Is that the question? Who's going to step up?
Let them know, Mark.
After a win, we need that. Anyway, what did he do? He had a catch. I mean, look, we all wanted it to work out, obviously. As D'Amico said, and this is what you say if you ever get a divorce, and hopefully you never do, you say, it didn't work out. And that's what D'Amico said with Deontay Johnson. It didn't work out. It's okay. I think the Stover loss, to me, is a pretty significant one because he's a good blocker. He had 4 catches in that game against the Chargers. That was a big deal, I thought. Mm-hmm. By the way, I could stay on a little longer.
Okay.
4 catches in the game. And I think that he's been coming around even more. The future of Stover is very bright for this football team. He could be a real key piece of this offense. I'm not saying like 80 catches type piece. I'm talking about 40 catches, but a great blocker, a guy and a locker room leader. Stover will be that guy. He's a man's man. He's just in his rookie season here. So that's a big loss, obviously. But Tegan Couturiano's back. He's a good blocker.
Yeah,
he can also catch the ball. He's different. He's bigger. He can catch the ball. Injury problems, but look, maybe he hangs around long enough to make a contribution. And Andrew Beck, I've been waiting for Andrew Beck to be elevated and make a play or two because he often does. So it's time for him to do something here. And I got to think he's going to factor into this game plan somewhat. Not like a key piece, but a piece, and he'll do something.
Yeah, and so Andrew Beck was a name a name I was thinking about that no one was talking about really, when you heard of the Cade Stover injury. And I even went to the official depth chart on the Texans. I was like, and I didn't see him. So is he on the active roster right now?
Andrew Beck, I think he's
Yes.
still practice squad. They gotta lift him up. I think they got a move to make before this game. So we'll see.
But that would make sense because, like you mentioned, Cade Stover was a good blocker. We use him as that H-back, fullback role a lot, which is a role that Beck can play. So he can help out in that regard. So,
Yeah.
I feel like he's not
But
being mentioned enough.
the thing about players, and not that Beck's an old guy or anything, but players as they're hanging around, like we see the name, do they still have that game, right? Do they still have the game? Because it goes fast. I'm not saying it's going for him, but there's a reason why he was available to the Texans, and he was available because they cut him after training camp, and he had trouble staying healthy. So we'll see. But as far as the Deontay Johnson targets or whatever, look, Mechie's got to have a good game here. He likes throwing to Mechie. Mechie's got to catch the ball. I mean, where else are you going to go? Robert Woods, we're going to see today in practice, what's Robert Woods' deal? By the way, the Oilers had a player named Robert Woods, too, when they first broke through to the AFC Championship game. Now, he didn't play a huge role, but he was there. He was a return guy, actually. So think about
Did
that.
not know that.
Ooh, no relation to our body.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I have a question from Patton on Twitter. He said, how is Robert Woods looking health-wise, and what do you expect from Jared Wayne going into the game?
What was Woods yesterday? Let's look it up together here because it wasn't. Yeah, he was DNP with a hip. So if he doesn't go today, I'm not optimistic that Woods can go, which is a big deal. Because here's the other thing: who's going to return punts? He's been your punt return guy. I thought Deontay Johnson would get a shot at that last week, but they don't have Woods out there because they think Woods can break one. They have Woods out there because he's going to catch the ball. And
reliable.
He can, and he's a good, smart return guy. Remember the Buffalo game, right up the middle. Let's kill it. Let's kick the field goal, get out of here with the victory. He is the guy you want there. And I think with kickoffs, it'll be Dameon Pierce and maybe Dare if Woods can't go. But if Woods can't go as a receiver, that's a big deal to me. And I know he hasn't had the kind of year that he had last year when CJ was really kind of looking for him. But I'll give you the guys who need to step up here. X needs another good one. It's X. Oh, he makes big catches. He tends to come up with the ball like a key first down or whatever. Obviously, last week, huge play. But X, Mechie, it's your time, man. And as far as Wayne goes, let's see. I know he bumped into Tank, and that was the catastrophic injury last time you were up there. And somebody asked me, do you think that would factor into them wanting him up? Listen, it's all hands on deck right now. They clearly like him because they have other guys they can lift up too, but they go to him.
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic too. Like Robert Woods is a guy that's I've been guilty of it. Like as fans, we've kind of like picked on him and taken him for granted. But here we are now, like hoping he's ready to go. But I think he's very undervalued. Like you mentioned, he may not be like at least on the punt return explosive, but he's reliable. Even in that game against the Chargers, that little subtle 5, 6, 7 yard punt return he had before half helped set us up for a field goal. As a slot receiver, I feel like he's a tough, smart receiver, can make those contested catches. So I really hope he is able to go.
I'm going to see it about, 45 minutes. I'll be out there and I'll see if he's doing anything today. And then we'll get the final report, pregame report today. And you'll know, like, let's say he's questionable or whatever. They might declare him out today. They might declare him questionable. But when they hit the plane, this always happens on a Saturday, and tomorrow's a football Saturday. Where so-and-so is not traveling. So they have to declare him out, and so we'll see. And I'm hoping that Woods comes back today. Hip injury, who knows? I can't, I'm not a doctor. Just hope for the very best here. Couple of things here on the chat. Brandon says, ESPN says Robert Woods was our speedster. Okay, so you see, this is why, now that we're getting this deep, you see the national media talking about the Texans, and you see they don't know, they don't follow the team like we do. So people on your chat here, Garrett, are totally into this thing, and they know the team better than a lot of these guys. I love Orlovsky, but yesterday he's talking about Petrie. Like, come on. I mean, follow it, and I know he's got to follow all the other teams and whatever, but come on. Petrie I'd love to see Petrie out there, but we're not going to see him, Dan.
Yeah, and then they also didn't know the receiver that caught the big pass from CJ. Like, oh, who was that guy that caught that pass? Was that
Yeah,
Schultz? Was that?
exactly.
It's like it's Xavier
And
Hutchinson.
I get it. We're crashing the party here, but the Chargers were going to do that too. I think we deserve the Texans deserve to be here. They earned it. They played at home. Everyone talked about hey, we took on a Chargers team that everybody was picking to win, other than maybe Teddy Bruschi. As far as the national guys go, and now you deserve to be here. Can you do it? The world wants us to. I mean, other
That's
than the
true.
Chiefs Kingdom people, the world wants us to. Somebody said missing Brevin like crazy. I don't know if we talked about that last week. I agree. I think Brevin would have been a really nice addition, contract year for this year's team, but you had to live the whole season without him. Few people say that. Wow, that's interesting. Bye week. Andy Reid, great record after bye weeks. I get it. I think this is unusual because you are dealing with a long time since they really played a meaningful game. For Chris Jones, it's since he played the Texans, because he didn't play in that game at Pittsburgh for the Chiefs. But it's been since Christmas Day that they played a quote meaningful game. Now, look, they might be totally fresh and awesome and just bang, bang, bang down the field. They got the full complement of receivers available, except for I guess Hardman is banged up, but they're not really counting on him anyway. Travis Kelce's ridiculous in the postseason. Mahomes has never thrown a pick in a divisional round. It's a nightmare. You are really going up against a playoff Goliath here, so you have to be at your very best.
But more context on that divisional round. Someone this morning sent me, a breakdown of the teams that he's played and the defenses. He's only played a couple like decently ranked defenses. Like the matchups that he's had, they've all been low. So I mean, context does
Jaguars.
matter.
Jaguars
Texans
at
with Bill
21.
O'Brien, that defense was not the best. It was like 20 something ranked, So context does matter. And yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. Going into this game, like surface level thoughts was like I had like a 6, on a scale of 1 to 10 confidence. And like I dove into it last night. Like I'm almost 2-8. And really like the only thing that like keeps me from completely diving in is the same thing last year. I feel like the Chiefs last year had an underwhelming season and we all counted them out and they just magically flipped the switch for playoffs. So like to me, that's the only thing holding back. Do you think that's the same for you?
They know what it's all about. They're used to this moment. They gear up for this moment, and they'll be ready. They're at home. Even last year, they were on the road. Both games got through it. They know just get this win, and we're in the AFC Championship game. Now, next week could be, if they make it, could be a real different deal for them. We'll see, but they will not flinch. They are outstanding at what they do. They are the dynasty. They're the new Patriots. I love Mr. Optimistic. We're going to shock the world. I get away from the prediction business, and I've learned a long time ago, my feelings have very little to do with reality and the way, things are going to go. But I can tell you that I think it's our best shot. I thought last year was a really good shot. This is a better shot. Last year, 10-10 at the half against the Ravens, even though you missed a field goal, I felt like, okay, we got him in a good situation because we're getting to Lamar Jackson, but then you gave up the rushing yards in the second half and couldn't capitalize, couldn't score. I feel like this is our best shot. I feel like this Chiefs team is it as good as previous Chiefs teams? Offensively, it doesn't look like that, but they know what it's all about. Look at the Texans last week. Hey, our offense snapped out of it, started to run the ball. Nico has the best receiving performance in Texans postseason history. CJ looks good. Think about the Chiefs. Mahomes just has to be Mahomes. Throw to Kelce, throw to his guys. Pacheco, a few key runs. Kareem Hunt, real tough to stop. All of a sudden, they could put up 24, 30 points on you. And can you match that? It could go like that. I don't think it will, but it could. So you better be ready.
And to me, like these teams are very similar. People are viewing the Chiefs like they're this juggernaut, but when you look into the numbers, we've both played like a lot of close games. The difference is we're 7-5, they're 11-0. We both have good defenses. We both have offenses that have underperformed. So I mean, I'm optimistic. I mean, do you think the 9-point spread is a little ridiculous?
Oh, I do think that's ridiculous. But spreads are always based on where's the money going to go if we put the number here. So they try to make it so it doesn't swing too heavy to one side, right? So if you put the Chiefs at 7, people are going to be like, Oh man, I think that the Texans will crack into. I mean, the Chiefs. The Chiefs will have no problem on that. You know, you put it at 9, it starts to like, okay, the Texans can cover that, so you get some good money on the Texans side. So I don't know. I think that's a little ridiculous, but you know how it is, Garrett. Like you could
Yep.
play a really great, competitive, close game, but they get a late whatever, and all of a sudden you lose by 10, and they cover, and but it is what it is. I love the TJ comment. Mahomes just had a new baby. Maybe he's not as focused. Yes, no sleep. Of course, I'm sure he's not the one like up late at night with the baby. You know, like when I had my first kid, I was like, honey, you pump. I'll feed the kid in the middle of the night. I had no problem doing that. It was the off season. Uh, but Mahomes, I think, will be ready. He'll be able to get some rest and he'll recharge himself for this moment.
I don't know. Brittany kind of strikes me as the person to kind of make him do stuff regardless of scenario. So I'm hoping that Brittany was kind of on him this week to help out.
I just, as I said, it's tantalizing to think about knocking them off. Taylor Swift in the house, just all the crybaby activities of the Chiefs Kingdom people after this one would be so glorious in so many different ways. But really, it's about the Texans, about your ability to pull it off. Another thing is this. Clay Martin, I read the referee for this one,
Mm-hmm.
has never refereed a Chiefs loss. Now, I'm sure he's got company. The Chiefs have won a lot of games in recent years. I'm sure there are a lot of people, refs, that have, the Chiefs have outstanding records when they work the game because they have an outstanding record, period. So you can't read too much into that. But I really don't want this one coming down to something mysterious, some weird holding penalty or some controversial call. Please make it a great result, for the Texans preferably. But I don't want to see those guys factor into this game too much, and have that be the story or a big part of the story because, these teams deserve it. They deserve to have it called right down the middle. And, I think when you're at home, it's got to be tough for these officials. I think it's tough on officials, period, to referee this game, any game. I'm amazed with the stuff they actually do see. And then, you slow down things in super slow-mo with 4K and you're like, oh my gosh, how did you miss that? Right. Well, I get it. It's all in real time. It's tough to call this action.
I mean, and you bring up a good point. Like, you hate to say it, but like, I've always, you hear about it when teams play the Chiefs, like how the refs are always on their side. I was before that Texans game, like, oh, it's kind of overblown. Like, I get it, but it's not that bad. But like when we went through it in that game, like that was one of the worst games I've seen. Like every call they had that was, in my opinion, the wrong way was like during critical moments. It took away a fumble 6. It took away a sack. And so, I mean, you hate to say it, it really felt like it was bad last game.
Yeah, you need to be very careful with Mahomes. You got to get him down, but you don't want to risk the penalty, right? So it's real tough. And that one where they called it back, that forward pass. I mean, did you see the Stafford forward pass the other night? So now the guys are just going to be flinging the ball forward. It was a pass.
That
You
was
got all this,
crazy.
jet sweep, shovel pass stuff.
And
You
it
can't
wasn't
play.
intentional grounding too. That made no sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
He
Well,
wasn't even looking. He
ball
just
off.
flicked his hand forward. Like, oh, it was an incomplete pass.
Right. I mean, how's that not a fumble? So it's nuts. I would say that you just have to play clean, and that's easier said than done. But you got to figure out a way to do it. And I want to see them be relentless on defense, like they are. Everybody's weighing in. Like Dolphins, cold weather last year. They got lucky. The Chiefs did. They had the Jags 2 years before that. Yeah, it was 2 years before that, right? Or the year before that. No, the Jags were the 22 team that went up there, right? After knocking off the Chargers and to come from behind win. You get the Dolphins and the Jags. And I think the Texans are built for this moment better than those teams. Clearly. I mean, the Dolphins were banged up to, beyond belief on defense. We all saw the Hard Knocks in season last year with the Dolphins. They were just decimated on the defensive side of the ball. And Tua in the cold, it's like you might as well just pack it up. I think the Texans are ready. Like I said, they're just up there a month ago. It was cold in that game. It's cold now. It's cold at practice. It's not as cold, whatever. They know the environment. They know Arrowhead. They know the locker room. It feels like a division game when you look at the infrastructure of it. You go up there. It's a playoff atmosphere. I get it. But they're built for this, and they are frothing at the mouth for this opportunity on defense in particular.
When I saw the schedule in the offseason, I said that, we would lose against the Chiefs, but it gave us experience and we would go back into Arrowhead and beat them. And here we are. So, I mean, I agree the experience is invaluable. And I guess another question I have for you, I feel like this is something, and maybe I'm wrong, but I really do feel like D'Amico Ryans is a big picture kind of guy. Like these games against the Chiefs and the Ravens late in the year, they really didn't have much significant to us as far as playoff positioning, whereas the Chiefs were going for the number 1 seed and the Ravens were trying to win the division. We mentioned it last time, last year against the Browns, we played them and we didn't shadow, and we played them in the playoffs and shadowed. Do you think that D'Amico kind of went with a Manila game plan against the Chiefs and that we could see some wrinkles this game, like shadow Mahomes or something crazy like that?
Maybe. The game plan, it's interesting. I'm not sure about that, but I pointed out many times, and I think here, that those games against the Chiefs and the Ravens, the pressure was off the Houston Texans as far as we must win these games. The pressure was firmly on when you played the Jags because you're coming off the loss to Tennessee. Got to get this win. The Colts are playing later today. What are we going to do? Oh, no, that was the Dolphins weekend. But anyway, you had to beat the Jags. You had to beat the Jags after the going into the bye. Then coming out of the bye, you had to beat the Dolphins because you knew the Chiefs and Ravens were coming, and you couldn't rely on beating those two teams to clinch the division. Otherwise, you're looking at a Jags slide from 2023, a Jags-like slide. So when the pressure's on, they're at their best. I said it last week. Dolphins, pressure was on, bang, they took care of business. Chargers, pressure on, bang, they took care of business. Pressure's on this week, obviously. You can make history. So let's see if they can make history. I think that the effort, I hate to say the word effort, but the intensity that you'll see in this one is completely different from a month ago, because what's on the line here? What was on the line for the Texans a month ago? Play well against a really good team. Now it's play in the AFC Championship game. They still had a possibility outside for a 2 seed a month ago, but it was very, very faint. This is, you win, you're in. They'll be talking about you for, look, we talk about the 1979 Oilers still. Love you blue. This is what they did. They got the back-to-back AFC Championship games, all right? That's how they became beloved in this city historically. Maybe the most well-liked team. Look, the Rockets won titles. The Astros, unbelievable. I get it. But we still look at the Love You Blue Oilers as this incredible thing. Well, you have a chance to do what they did, basically. Get there and then take your shot.
Well, that's the beauty in it to me, is like the way this season has gone relative to expectations, like with the offense struggling, like fans have been disgruntled as ever, fire this guy, fire that guy, all this stuff. But yet here we are with the chance to win this game. If we win this game, everything is cured. And that was my goal for the year as a fan, was I wanted at the very least to get over that hurdle to the next step, to make the AFC Championship for the first time. And if we do it, all is good. If we make a run, great. If not, we know we are set for the next 5-10 years with the foundation of D'Amico, Will, and CJ. Like, everything is great right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're set up very well. Look, we got the right guys in the building, and they're only going to add to it. Did they, after what they did last year, they really went nuts in the offseason with the acquisitions. And I think they're going to do it again this year. They know that every year is different. They clearly have to reshape the wide receiver room. But here they are still going, and you've got the op, as D'Amico would say. And I think winning last week, to me, it was paramount that you won last week. Don't take a step back. But even having said that, look around the league. You're one of the better teams in the NFL right now. And the fact that CJ had the game he had against the Chargers, if that thing had not turned around last week, you would have gotten into the offseason like, wait a minute, what's really going on here? But CJ performed at a high level in the postseason. Herbert had 4 interceptions. The week before, if you were talking about Justin Herbert versus CJ Stroud, what the conversation would have been. Now it's like, hey, look, So, and CJ clearly, he's still a young man learning this game. So the future is extremely bright. But the immediate future, what a chance you have here.
That's a great point, though. It's like how quickly narratives can change. You go from Herbert's a top 5 quarterback historic season to, oh no, he's a fraud, he's exposed, and then the inverse for CJ. So I'm glad that he had that game to get people off the schneid, because I've thought, it's been fair to critique him, but I thought like the reasoning behind it has been overblown. Like, to ever question him as being the guy, to me, has just been blasphemous. Like, he is by far and away the guy and will lead us to where we want to go for sure.
And here's the thing. What are we talking about this week in all these playoff games? You're talking about quarterbacks, because the other AFC game, I mean, look at that matchup with the quarterbacks, right? And then you're talking about, look at the NFC. You got Jaden Daniels, hot rookie. We know what that's like. You're looking at Jared Goff. You're looking at Matthew Stafford. You're looking at people who are these elite level or high level quarterbacks at the very least. And CJ, we talk about all these aspects of this game. The game is in his hands. He can do this. And will he do it? Somebody pointed out Dalton Schultz needs to step up. Absolutely. Dalton Schultz, as a pass catcher, needs to be able to make plays. And CJ's got to find him. It's more than a two-headed monster, because you got to pass protect in that process. But, Mixon, CJ, these guys can control the game. They can do it. Will they do it? That's why we tune in.
Well, I'll give you one more question. I know you got to go to practice here in a minute. I guess just give me your biggest key to the game for the Texans to pull off the upset.
I think the defense will be there. Are you going to be able to get some decent run blocking? And all you need is decent. Get Mixon going. Get this ground game going. It's just going to make everything so much better. If Mixon is getting some gash runs, think about what a lift that is for all the phases, right? Because that's going to pump up CJ. Now you're looking at, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5. Good. Let's get to 2nd and 5, at least 2nd and 6. Let's not have 2nd and 9 too often. I know it's going to happen, but certainly not 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12, 3rd and 9 all the time. No. Get to those shorter down and distance opportunities for your quarterback, and then he can make some plays and get the ball out fast. I think that's another key. And look, that's the offensive side. We can talk about defense for hours, but I think the defense is going to keep you in this game. I think they're going to find a way. Look, they're going to give up some points. It's like basketball. They're going to score. They're going to move the ball, but they're going to keep it close. At the end of the day, the point total should be relatively low for the Chiefs. I think the number for me would be 24 for the Texans. If you can get to 24, I think you can win this game. Watch it be like 48-47. But I believe that's my feel going into this one.
I mean, I kind of have the same thoughts. I'm not worried about defense, and I've been saying, as long as offense plays average to a slightly above average, we have a shot to win. We don't need them to be world beaters.
Wow.
I think our defense is that good. Relative to what they've been.
I'm in. I want you to be right. I'm in. Average to slightly above average, like my golf game. If that can do it, that's awesome. With that,
basically, don't lose the game for us on offense. Do enough.
Yes, that'd be
that's
awesome.
My opinion.
I just think it's going to be hard to take the ball away from them. They're not a team that coughs up the ball. But we said that about the Chargers, and you just lit them up in a defensive way. It was awesome. I mean, by the time they got to pick number 2, I thought already you basically won this thing. I mean, come on. You got 2 picks off Herbert. Lassiter's pick was huge just to stop that momentum that they gained from their turnover, their takeaway. So anyway, man, let's hope for the best.
Okay, well, I guess one last request. If we do win, can we get a wee blessing on the call somewhere?
So you want the most historic win in the history of the franchise to have Lee Blesson on the call? You think this is after 23 years of calling Texans football?
I gotta ask.
I just decided I'm going to get this guy's brand on the call.
My friend Garrett
roll in the first touchdown of franchise history, because I was like, this is the Texans moment, not the announcer moment here. So I'm not going to say rock and roll in the first touchdown of Texans history, but the second touchdown of Texans history, Corey Bradford, I freaking said it. Maybe we'll say it somewhere. Maybe I'll do.
Okay, well, let's make a deal. If we get 2 defensive touchdowns, same deal. Run it back.
We'll do something.
Okay.
I don't want to see a post about this later. Vandermeer promises.
I won't. Well, Marc, I really appreciate you. I mean, I know the fans do as well. This is awesome you do this. We're very blessed to have you as our play-by-play guy, and to do something like this. I mean, a couple of days before one of the biggest games in franchise history is absolutely awesome. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
You know what? Let's do it next week.
That sounds good.
It's still going. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Hopefully we'll see you same time next week. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We will catch y'all later. Thank you.